Right. It is the 7th of February, which is just ridiculous. And we are back. Lovely Brice and I are back with the amazing Mark Attwood for part two of Discover Your Passions. Because on part one, we got so carried away talking with so many different things. We left loads still to talk about. So how you doing, Mark?
Interesting is the word.
Ooh.
Hmm. I've been chipper for 2 years, and then this weekend, it all hit me like a Canadian truck convoy, and just the magnitude of everything. It's not actually happened to me very often, but the magnitude of everything that's going on is just. I'm ready. I'm done. I'm ready for this to be over.
Same. I was just telling our mutual friend Stephanie that I'm done and
Oh,
go past the window, but city living, just got to deal with this stuff.
oh dear. We have gremlins.
Here's a question. Can I propose this to you guys? Like we know that we're on a fraudulent calendar. We'll just say it that way. And we have heard that, or I have heard that this weekend coming up, the 11th through the 13th, is technically what is supposed to be the end of January on a more realistic calendar, although we know January is also a made-up month. So do we think that anything regarding timelines is that they're going to have to meet at a certain point in a timeline in order to pull the plug and make the flip? What do you guys think about that?
Okay, we're both going, oh my God. Well, just a quick one from me. I mean, I just think when you were saying, Mark, and you, Brice, about you're ready for it, I just as well. I'm so with you this weekend. I don't know what's gone on this weekend, but when everyone was sending me all the stuff about bloody Queenie and also about loads of channelers saying that they're going to put us into another global lockdown and everything, I was like, sake, stop it, stop all this talking about this crap, just say no, just get on with it. We cannot. For me, it's just like, it's all very well saying, it's the good guys that are going to do it this time. Sod off. Don't want any of them to do it to us. So there's obviously some big energy shifts that are affecting us all, but timelines, too much for my little brain. What?
It's wild.
Yeah, sorry, we got some gremlins there, some freezing. It is the timeline thing. I'm no expert. I'm not a time traveler. Or maybe I am. I don't know. Yeah, I've got nothing really useful to say there, apart from the fact that it kind of makes sense.
Mm.
It feels like it makes sense, but I don't really know why.
Well, it's interesting, and we were going to talk a lot about paranormal. And I know recently I've had more experience with like what we now call off-worlders, which before we probably called them ETs or aliens. I've had more personal experiences now. And from what I've learned from people who are friend Taylor Moon, who are more connected to that galactic world, is that, we look at things in terms of dates, whereas that is just like a three-dimensional man-made thing, whereas they're looking at things in terms of portals. Now we know that the Lyran constellation, I believe the Palladian, like a lot of these different other homes will say, have also been affected by this group as well in the past. And that's why this battle is so huge. It's not just us, it's more galactic as well. And while they're on our side, because we've all dealt with this group of people, our energies, whatever they are. But what I've learned is they're looking at things through terms of going through different portals. And we go through different portals in our lifetime, and most of the time we don't even realize it. But apparently, I could be wrong, but from what I understand, we're in a portal right now, and I see it almost like a hallway. And by the time we get to the end of the hallway, it's done. It has to flip. And so that's why when I heard that concept about the timelines, I was like, maybe that's what they're saying, is that we're coming towards the end of this type of galactic portal, that we have to go back to the original calendar, whatever that is, whether that's the zodiac, whatever you want to call it, which again is very hard, I think, for a human brain to process, because our world is so different than we're in a very heavy density to actually comprehend that. But we know the Super Bowl, and I'm not a sports person, but here in America, the Super Bowl is this coming up Sunday, which is like 2 weeks later than it normally is. And we know that there was a post from the military back channel a while ago talking about the Super Bowl. So I don't know. Just something interesting.
Well, nothing would surprise me. I can't remember if on the last show did we talk about UFO encounters?
No.
We touched on it briefly, so that's why we want to talk about it today. Yes.
Okay. So did I tell you about the ship I saw last year?
I think so.
Did I?
Yeah.
I think you touched on that, yeah.
Yeah, because that's my grounding point, because I know what I saw, and what I saw was unbelievable. It was extraordinary. So I know that this isn't. I mean, I've done a lot of ayahuasca as well, and I've had lots of images and visions over the years, and fights with demons, real ones, physical ones.
Same. Yes.
Actual things on my back. So I know. I know. So that keeps me like chipper normally, but what the energy the last few weeks has been really well, maybe the last couple of months has been really bizarre, because especially when it comes to like the galactic stuff. So I try to stay open-minded about everything, right? Everything. I don't say no to anything, which also makes me susceptible to fall for stuff sometimes, okay? And for people. And throughout this whole spiritual quarantine period that we're in, there's been lots of times where I have been pulled in directions, and it's been a real challenge just to keep getting up and keep doing this thing, talking about this stuff, because I feel compelled to talk about it. But what I'm seeing is, like, I get these we're all getting conflicted messages, and everybody's going, well, who do you trust? I don't trust, you go on certain channels and you'll see, I don't trust this person because they once said this last year, and I don't trust this person. And then you've got all these people who've collaborated who then fall out with each other because they're getting information from other people, and then they start slagging each other off, whether it's literally or subtly. So everybody's just massively confused.
Yeah.
But it all comes down to in here and resonations and that truth vibration. So even the discussion about flat Earth and round Earth, even the discussion about Palladians and Arcturians, and whether there is space or there isn't space, whether it's a dome, and all of this kind of stuff, I'm not committing to either side of any of that. But the things that resonate, because they both resonate with me, for example. So I don't know if that's like two different realities, or whether I'm just wrong about both of them.
Or partly right about both of them.
Yeah, that too.
Because it's like, I don't know probably nearly as much. Well, I don't think I know nearly as much about off-worlders as you two probably do, because my experiences haven't been as much. But for me, it's quite interesting, because normally I've always been someone that's wanted to sort of use the right name, use the right terminology. And it's a bit like, an animal's an animal. I don't really care what their official name is, because who made up that official name anyway? It's like, I don't know. I'm really struggling these last couple of weeks to sort of express what I want to get out. But I suppose the overwhelming feeling is like, because so much of my reality has been based around time, has been raised around names, based around it's this or it's that, I still feel somehow we're almost missing the point in terms of talking about it in that language, because that's the old language that we've explained it in before, which isn't, I've just got this feeling it's just not going to be relevant moving forward. Either that, or I've just got senile dementia. I'm just going downhill rapidly. Could be a mixture of the two. Perhaps I'm just making excuses for myself, but it's like the facts that people are talking about and getting hung up on don't seem important to me for some reason, and I can't work out why.
Because they're not. Yeah, I'm the same. I've tried not to do any of the intel chasing as much as possible, and tried to talk to positive people and share stories, and that kind of thing seems to be much more relevant. But it's all frequency matching. Your audience is who needs to hear whatever you're putting out at the time. But what you said about the language is really interesting, because it dawned on me quite a few years ago that language in and of itself is a form of mind control, because it's been created, and we all know, most people watching this will know that legalese is a language of its own kind, which sounds like and looks like English, but it means completely different things, which is how they've managed to hide common law from us and hide our rights through language. So yeah, I think you're right, because it's you know, I mean, the psychic shit I'm having at the moment is off the charts. It's like 30 times a day, and I'm going, oh, I mean, literally, I just thought of that, and then they've rung, or this has happened, and I was like, oh, hang on, I knew that was going to happen, and it's really going through the roof. And
I'm getting telepathy like crazy.
Mm.
Like, so I'm getting people, and I'll check with people, and they're like, oh yeah, I was just thinking that. Like with people in my life, like I am getting like, and and I know that's happened to me in the past, because I've had stuff happen to me since I was a little kid, but it's getting very strong, very strong.
Yeah, I've been telling my daughter that where we're going, we're all going to be telepathic, telekinesis, levitation. And she turns around and goes, it'll be shit when you know what everybody's thinking.
I know, but will it though? Will it really? Because this is so fascinating. We're going down this direction with we always talk about things that we think we're going to do this and we go, no, all links in. But, you know, Brice, the conversations we were just having this morning with Shanti and Mornay, Mark, we were just having a little round table and talking about how true friends you can have a really honest conversation with and give really honest feedback. And when it's coming from a heart space, then even if you don't like what you're hearing initially, you know they had your interest at heart. And so you at some stage you'll listen to it. And it's so funny because I've been speaking to you, Brice, about how I've been so drawn to do something about the animal communication, because loads of people are asking me to teach them how to do animal communication. But I've got this big stumbling point because it's not animal communication, it's just telepathic communication. And whether you're doing it to a goldfish, a Labrador, or to you two doesn't make any difference. And it's funny because whenever I'm doing animal communication, supposedly with the clients will often say, well, are you tapping into the animal or me? And I'm like, it's all of you, because all our energy fields are linked. And if your animal's got an issue, you're intrinsically, you know, affecting that. And it's funny, your daughter saying, you know, it'd be shit to know what everyone thinks, but all this bullshit would go, wouldn't it, if we really did know what it thinks? And actually, this is how animals communicate all the time. When you meet two dogs and the owners think they should get on and the dogs don't, it's because they're picking up the true essence of what they're really saying to each other, not the human interpretation of it. And there is none of this falsehood. There's none of this.
Well, but my cat's been giving me telepathy lessons all day because she doesn't like the cat food that I've currently got. So, somebody told me you teach people how to make good cat food.
Yes, I'll send you that.
Yeah, I should have said that off camera because it was a mental note to ask you. Yeah, and she's totally telepathic with me.
Yeah,
and she's teaching me stuff all the time. It's amazing. Yeah.
So, in terms, sorry, carry on.
I was just say a funny story. My dog, who was on Catherine's diet plan as well, but one day he was acting really crazy. I didn't know what was going on. And so I had my pendulum board and I channeled his higher self. And I was like, what's going on with you? And he spelled P-O-O-P. He had to go poop.
Oh, that's absolutely perfect. So,
I thought he was going to say, like, we're ascending now. And he's like, no, I just got to go poop. So...
The dog's grounding you. It's good.
Just gotta go outside.
Any pet owner just spends their whole lives talking about poop. It's just our favorite conversation anyway. You can tell so much by it. But in terms of sort of some of your experiences, so we sort of hit on a bit last time, Mark, about your experience of seeing this amazing spaceship and things. So have you seen anything recently? Because you're saying the psychic stuff. Are you feeling anything coming through from?
Well, I got told. I got told. I don't want to repeat myself, but I got told by email by somebody that said, "You don't know me, but they know that you look up every night." And I do. I do every single night. And I usually see a white light doing something strange. I mean, this is like a UFO hotspot where I live. And when it's a clear sky, I always see something. If I stay for more than 10 minutes, always, right? But nothing super extraordinary, apart from in the last couple of months, nothing super extraordinary. But last year there was quite a lot of things, and there was another one that happened. I was standing over there at a neighbour's house, and it was about 11 o'clock at night, and I was in the garden, and this thing was flying towards from that direction, and it was big, and it was white, and it was low, and it was moving like a big bird, and I was like, what is that? And as it flew over, it looked like what you would describe either as a dragon or a phoenix or something like that. It was a huge bird made of light. That's the best way of describing it. And I had a witness. It wasn't just me. And I was like, was that a dragon? What was that? And also, I think it might have been. If you look at Gina Marie Colvin Hill, her YouTube channel, she put up a dragon caught on CCTV camera the other night, and also the CCTV cameras that are outside the White House have captured plasma recently, and she captured lots of plasma the satanic buildings in Dublin and in different places around the world. And I get the feeling there's some sort of cleanup, energetic cleanup going on.
Well, that's the dragon thing is interesting because that's coming up a lot.
Yeah.
And I know that's the Kali energy from the Hindu. She's the dragon. And that also connects to the divine feminine as well. And we have this skewed views of what dragons are, but we all have one, and they're fiercely protective. And so that's fascinating that that people are starting to actually see that. It's like it sounds cliche, but it's like the veil is really thinning for everyone at this point.
And I'm getting a big buzz as you're saying that. And what's coming to mind is Tolkien, right? So Tolkien was interviewed in Amsterdam in 1959, and he said in a radio interview that The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings was based upon the true history of the Earth.
Interesting.
Well, it is interesting, yeah, because I think he had access to all these books underneath the university. I think it was at Cambridge, which have and what fascinates me. I'd love to get under the Vatican and see all those things that they've got under there. I mean, not the demons and children, but the books.
Yeah, the books. Yeah,
because there's so much we just don't know anything.
Oh, no, it's so exciting. It's like, I just love the fact that we don't know anything, because, as I said, I think most people watching this, that's why a lot of people have felt so out of place up until now, because what we've been taught just has never made sense to us. And
crap, yeah.
It's so great to me because, people saying, expecting you to feel the opposite. I'm like, thank God, I'm really happy, because I knew it didn't make sense. I've no idea what the answer is to most of it. However, I'm really excited to start finding some of this stuff out. It really is. And I've got loads of my sort of spiritual friends that are really, really connected to their dragons. Really, I want my dragon to be like Shrek's dragon, because I want it to be half donkey, half dragon. It would be my ideal.
Donkey!
Oh, I mean, can you imagine? And I'd love to go flying on my dragon.
Well, can I tell something?
Go on, Brice.
Something super fascinating, and I don't even know where this is. But so I started my journey a lot with the blood types, because I'm O negative, and I have the long tongue, I have the low body temperature, the extra vertebrae. And I always thought I would have like lizard in me, that was like reptilian because of the O negative and it connects to royal family. But then I was told, no, you're not reptilian. You actually have dragon blood in you.
Ooh.
You just reminded me of something.
I was like, oh, no, he's gonna run away.
I did leave. That was really funny.
Dragon egg.
Oh, wow.
Sent to me by a really amazing healer who worked with the royal family.
Oh, that's wild.
I don't know if it is I don't know what, it's a crystal obviously, but is it an actual dragon egg? I don't know.
Wow. I mean, everything we've been taught is such a load of crap in our schools. Like the true history, we're so, and that's kind of what, when I go through the missing books of the Bible, like I've kind of come to the conclusion that the 12 tribes of Israel are galactic tribes. They're galactic. The Lyran group is the house of Judah, which is the house of the lion, which is one of the oldest souls in the galaxy. They bring the Christ consciousness.
Well, right. So about a year ago, I did an astral journey, and these visions they're so powerful that they go into a little filing cabinet on their own, because they're just so extraordinary. When the first lockdown started, the first vision I had was a minotaur. It was a really powerful creature, and it was like silver with red flecks, and it was kind of looking at me out the corner of its eye, going like that, like it couldn't do anything. It was really interesting. But then last year I did this astral journey, and this unbelievable, beautiful golden lion appeared in my journey. And I'd never seen anything like it, and I felt it, and it was I couldn't hold it for too long. I kind of collapsed, but it was just stunning. And funnily enough, I was watching a series of films at the time that I'd never seen. My kids made me watch it, and it was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And Aslan is Christ, and I never knew that. JCK she told me that. She said that's Christ, and I was like, oh, that's what that was. And it's and when you realize that, and you realize, I always feel weird about talking about visions because people are like, yeah, what, did you have too much drink, or were you on the wacky backy? No, it was just like a real pineal gland vision, and they're extraordinary,
Yeah.
And that was one of the highlights of last year, actually, which just came back to me when you mentioned it.
Well, the more I've studied this, it's like, so the Lyran group is the House of Judah, which is the House of the Lion, which brings the Christ consciousness. They're one of the oldest galactic groups. That's why they take responsibility. And their coloring is like a golden orange. Well, what did they call Mr. T? Orange and bad. All of a sudden his coloring started changing. And we're noticing that with a lot of other people in the community, that their coloring is starting to change. And that's what someone told me is going to start to happen. We think about the flags of the 12 tribes. It's not an actual flag. It's markings that you carry depending on we're all really star seeds, like where your galactic DNA hails from, what your mission is here. And I just thought that was so freaking fascinating because, I mean, look at Trump's hair, the way it's like, what are they telling us? What, and also, the rise of the Magdalene coming back. That's why I'm doing my series, because she was also the Christ consciousness. One couldn't exist without the other, but they inverted that and they made the Baphomet and, made her a sex worker. And, it's just all these things are starting to like make, actually, even though the true story seems to be so much more fantastical, it actually makes more sense than the garbage they gave us.
Do you think this is why some of us feel that we're meant to be in animal bodies? Brice and I was joke because I've always felt that I was meant to be in an animal's body. And of course, everyone jokes and says, oh, you're obviously going down the evolutionary scale then. But in all seriousness, there's a lot of people that feel like that.
I've got a really bad joke there. I'm trying not to say it. I won't say
it. Go on, say it. Go on, you've got to say it. No, possibly not. I think I might know where you're going with that.
No, you don't want to know. No, you don't want me to do that. It's something to do with Welsh sheep farmers, but nothing.
Yes, I can imagine. Yeah, perhaps not. Perhaps for the off-show one, for the uncensored cuts at the end and everything. Right. But it is funny. It's like, and what I would love, I just wish you'd got that dog you keep talking about, Mark, because what I find really fascinating is when you have these visions, to see how your animals react to it. So I've been out, I'm really lucky because my horses are down the bottom of the garden in a beautiful field, and I go out there really late at night to go and check them. And quite often I think I'm seeing things up in the sky, and it's not necessarily, it's not as clear as what you're saying. It's not necessarily as divine, but I can see these things. And then I'm looking at my animals and they're just completely carrying on as normal. There's no change of behavior for them or anything, which is really fascinating, which shows that they're very, very comfortable with whoever up there, because horses, prey animals, herd animals, they'll react straight away if there's something, an energy there that they don't want to be or they don't feel safe with.
I was about to say, they see it all, don't they? It's normal for them.
Yeah, I mean, I had an experience like that last year when I looked up, and it was like I could see thousands of ships in the sky, and then I was like, "Am I really seeing that?" And I was like, it was like they were half there and they were half not there. And there's nothing, I wear glasses for reading. There's nothing wrong with my eyesight, and I think that this is the veil dropping. We're basically just describing the veil dropping.
Yeah. It's funny. The other day I take a salt bath every night, and I usually read like a fiction murder mystery just to relax. That's how I relax my mind, is murder mysteries. But I was in the bath and all of a sudden I had this, what I called a vision. And then I spoke to Taylor about it and I described what I saw, and she was like, girl, you had a memory. And I was walking down this hallway with another person, what I would describe as a person. And there were these beings standing along the hallway. And we got to this room and we had to sit in these chairs and like look at each other and strap down, almost like execution style. And all of a sudden we dropped. It was like this light open and we dropped. And I told her, I was like, the feeling I had was immense dread. I did not want, but they were like they're like bowing to us and thanking us as we were walking. And she goes, that's common. That's a common memory of when you actually came to this earth. you dropped through the portal to take life, and that dread you were feeling is because you knew you weren't going to remember. You know, how can that's the mission we were on, is like, how do you come here and complete this mission, but yet, you know, going back to third density, it's the thickest density, you're not going to remember anything, you know, about why you're here, who you're here with. So and I thought that was wild. And she said that when she does her quantum sessions, that's common. Like, you sit down and you go through, like, this light appears, and it's like a whoosh, down into the new life that you're taking.
You reminded me, when early on my channel, I got invited onto Michael Jaco's show, and he was talking about the secret space program, and suddenly I'm in the middle of this show, and he's saying to me, "Yeah, you're in the secret space program," and I'm like, "Shit, I'm live on air. What am I going to say?" Because I don't remember anything about that. I don't go around telling people I'm in the secret space. I don't think I am, but when I look at my life, it's really weird how when I came here, see, I even said came here instead of born. When I came here, I had a very strong desire to fly, and I became a pilot. That was my first job. And everybody said it was not possible for me to do that because I was a council house kid, and how could you be a pilot? But I did in the military, and I always found that really interesting that I did that.
What about if all this stuff, you know, we're very, quite understandably, obsessed with what's going on in Canada, what's going on with the royal family, what's going on with this global events. What if it's all irrelevant? You know, we talk all the time. Brice and I talk so much about so many different things. I forget what's on camera and what's off. But again, we were talking this morning, Brice. It's like, what if? Because we were saying, how do you get from where we are now to sort of where we think we want to be, at least the first step of where we want to get to, with so many different levels of awareness and everything. And perhaps all this human politics, royals crap, perhaps it's just completely irrelevant, but because perhaps this is all going to come in and just surpass all of it.
I think it served its purpose, like the whole what's happening here in the United States with Mr. B, with the royal family. I think it served its purpose in the beginning to help nudge us awake because we did the work and the research. But I agree. I think right now there's something bigger. There's something way bigger that's happening than just a Democrat or a Republican. You know, there's are way bigger. And I don't know if it's just the rate in which each soul is able to take those leaps, that they have to still keep playing out this more matrixy type stuff to wake people up, you know, to get them to a certain point. You know, like you have kids who are in the 11th grade and kids who are in the 3rd grade, and they all have to kind of go at their own rate. But yeah, I'm kind of getting bored of like the politics and bored of all that, the royal families, bored, because that's boring. Like, let's talk about the Galactics. Let's talk about who we really are. Like, why is it since I was a little kid, I have experienced demonic, like literal red eyes on me, waking up with scratch marks all over me since I was a freaking child. And even partners have seen me get scratched live. Just seen scratch marks go, why am I getting attacked? What? Don't tell me this crap isn't real, because I've got the wounds to prove it is. Why am I being targeted? Why are other people like you, Mark, or you, Catherine, experiencing things when other humans aren't? What is our mission? Who are we? You know, that's kind of where I am now. Tell me, I want to know, because this stuff you told me was not real 20 years ago is now looking pretty effing real right now.
Yep, it's 100% real.
Mm-hmm. And you said one of the first things you were saying, Mark, today was about levitation and things. Now, I've always, ever since I can remember, whatever age, I was very, very young, I've always thought I can levitate. And it's one of the most frustrating things that I'm still sitting here on your chair. I want to be whizzing around this room whilst I'm talking to you. But I know I can, but there's something I can't at the moment. But, you know, so let's get on to the really good stuff. You know, let's really get on to the, you know, good stuff. I don't know. We're all saying that, I mean, I hate the date sort of thing, but it does feel to me that something completely different is just going to eclipse all of it and everything. And I love Earth as it is. I love my walks in the woods with my dogs and my horses and my cats and things. So it's not that I don't like what I'm seeing at the moment, but it just seems like there's somehow we're missing the point, and I wonder if that's the delay.
I believe in miracles.
Mm,
I think something miraculous is going to happen.
mm,
Like Q said, this would be biblical. What does biblical mean?
mm.
How do you interpret that? And
Well,
sorry, Brice, go on.
no, the other night, one of my friends was channeling a very important figure. I won't say who, but she's a channeler, and because we had some questions about the Book of Revelation, because we know our timeline is off. We're not at the apocalypse. The apocalypse was the fall of Atlantis, which did not happen as long ago as we think it happened. When Christ, I know this is gonna piss a lot of people off, and I'm just gonna say it because we got to get to the truth about this. Yahshua, the person we know as Jesus Christ, was never crucified. That's a Luciferian rewritten story. Mithra, it's the Mithra story. He lived for 1,000 years with the Magdalene as they brought the 1,000 years of peace of Christ consciousness, and then they left again. We talked about Tartaria with the buildings, and all of a sudden people, we talked about this morning where there was no people, and all of a sudden people were back again. That was the release of the Draco, of the darkness again. And thus where we are here now is we're at the final battle, where we're now going to ascend into a higher density earth. And I agree with you, Mark. This isn't about politics, medicine, education. This is about our souls. This is about our spirits. This is about the magic that we carry. And so if people have to fully understand that, there's going to have to be a God moment. There's going to have to be something that stops everyone dead in their tracks. So Yahshua said that the flood of Noah, that we talk about Noah's flood, was the flooding of Atlantis. And there will be another flood, but it's going to be vibrationally. It's going to be a vibrational flood that will knock you off your feet. It's basically coming from the heart center, and our earth will start to look different as far as we're going to see different colors. This is going to sound so bad, and I forgive me for saying this, but if anybody's ever done shrooms, the trees like vibrate.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful.
Mm.
It's beautiful. And so that kind of sound like what we're going to see things more spiritually, more galactically. I think we're going to have a different relationship with the animal world. It's not going to be like it is now. There's not going to be separation. And that's what's kind of, and I don't know how that's going to happen. I don't know what that's going to look like. I have no fucking clue. But I think you're right. I think there's going to be like this God moment that comes in that we would call a miracle that stops human beings in their tracks. And maybe that brings back some of our memories. I think some of us are already having some of our memories coming back, but I think that's going to start to slowly bring back people's awakening as to who they truly are.
I agree. And Donald Trump said the best is yet to come. And I believed him. I believe him 100%. And there was a time there's been times in the last year that I've gone, I can't believe I wrote a poem called The Best Is Yet to Come. What if I'm wrong? But I shared it again last night because I was like, I listened to it and I was like, I'm 100% convinced of what I've written here and what this is about. Q is going to be studied. Q's the new Bible. It's going to be studied for forever. And some of the people that I've met in this journey, the insights that they've had, and it's really about it's all about digging deep into that. Like you're fearlessly looking for the truth, Brice. And when you say things like Christ wasn't crucified, I go, that makes sense.
Absolutely.
It makes sense because why would you put that in a church? Why would you? It used to terrify me as a kid. I was like, I'm seeing a man being murdered. Why? What? It doesn't make any sense.
It looks just like their rituals.
Yeah.
That's their ritual.
Yeah. Yeah. So
not ours.
That's why, I share Catherine's excitement because thank God that all of this, all of this is nonsense. Everything we've grown up with is nonsense. I mean, somebody asked me the other day, how do you homeschool your kids? And I said, well, it must be really difficult. And I said, well, only if you're trying to replicate what they're doing in schools right now. If you actually think of it from a different point of view and think, well, what's it take to actually educate a child? What does the child want? What does the child like? And what do they don't like? And it's a much more relaxed way of doing things. And now my son's churning out JavaScript and Photoshop at the age of 11 instead of learning some obscure load of bullshit Irish history in this prison cell of a school that he was in, and it's like people just like, how can you do that? I haven't got the time to do it. I haven't got the energy to do it. It's actually pretty easy, and a lot of these things, the way that we're going to be doing everything are actually fairly easy. Life is easy, really. I'm saying that at the same time holding the two things together. I just watched a harrowing video of a man talking about the fact that he gave his child this 2 weeks ago, and 2 weeks later, heart attack, gone. And I'm like, I need this to end now, because I can't witness. Yeah. I mean, I felt so sorry for the child, but also then for the guilt that he's feeling. And it's like, how much more of this have we? Is this really necessary, God? But God did say to me when I was suicidal 3 or 4 years ago, you've got to be willing to let go of everything if you're going to carry on with what you're about to do. And that's what I got very clearly. And letting go of everything means everything in order for things to be back in balance.
That surrender
is the feeling I get.
Yeah. That's heartbreaking when you hear stories like that with kids too, especially. I'm very lucky. My sister's awake. So my nieces and my nephew are not, I'm lucky that, because I know it's got to be rough for the whole family involved just to see that happen, but and I know there's a lot of questions people have, about why they're continuing this charade, and not putting a stop to it. And there has to be a bigger reason that we're just not seeing. And I don't think it has, and I know from the contacts that now I'm having with the Palladians, I know that there's just so much we don't understand because there has been a very thick veil, that this isn't just about Earth. There's so many different levels to this involved in this battle. And I think that part of our changing our history was so that we would be ignorant to everything that's happened in not just our plane of reality, but all planes of reality, whether that's above us or out extended beyond us, wherever that is. It's even, I love history, and I love studying history to kind of figure out what we've missed. But I discovered this map. Trump kept saying America first, America first, America first. Well, from the beginning, okay, well, every president should put their people first. It's kind of like what a president should do, but then you go deeper into it, and there's this freaking map out there that shows the American continent was actually like the Middle East. And where I live is Egypt. And then so I dig deeper, and we're pulling information. I'm going through the Gospel of Mary again, and they, the story is they found it in Cairo, but now we're learning, no, the true story is they found that gospel here in the state of Georgia. And they moved the artifact to even confuse us about where things actually happen. And so I'm starting to think, Mr. T, if you're watching this, can you elaborate on why you said America first? What's going on with this continent? We know Atlanta, like we know there's something about the Atlantis possibly being here, but then we know our everything was connected at one point. So what's the magic behind this land? Where did everything really happen? Because I think, and if it happened not where they said it happened, then why did they change the location? You hear this idea of like crystal grids below us. So there's all these crystal grids, which, you know what? If there's cities below us, then why not there be crystal grids below us that are going to start to emerge and come back out of the ground? I know there are pyramids beneath Georgia. We know that there are pyramids under Georgia. Why?
And there's a crystal pyramid in Bermuda that's huge under the water. Crystal. Why do all those ships and planes disappear around there?
Exactly. And anyone who's been, to see the Mayan temples in Belize and Guatemala and everything, it's just unbelievable. And it's just fantastic. And also in Belize, seeing how the way the wildlife reacts to them and everything is just incredible. But also what really fascinates me is almost not just why do they lie about that, but why is it significant now, right here, right now? Because it is obviously very significant. And when you look at everything, we talk so much at the moment about soil health and everything. Well, anyone who wants to look after the planet and their body does. But look how significant that is, because anything that's going into the soil is also going into whatever's beneath the soil, which certainly isn't what we are. Why are they so against a lot of the mining? Well, it's all linked in, isn't it? You can see how all these, what tangled web you weave when first you practice to deceive.
Yes.
All these things that when you start seeing one, you think, well, no wonder they don't want us to do that. No wonder they don't want us to do this. No wonder they don't want us to keep carrying on with these practices, because the more you look, you're going to find something.
Yeah. And my question is, what is Mar-a-Lago on top of? That's my question right now. Why is Mar-a-Lago so significant? We know it's like the second White House, but what's it on top of? That's where I go now, is like, why that piece of property? Why that land? You know, here in the Southeast where I live, we have what we call these Indian burial mounds from the Cherokee, the Creek, and you can drive by them. They're supposed to be graves where they would stack all these bodies, but they're giants. They're not people like us.
Same here.
They're giants.
Yeah, I was about to say, there's a place down here near a lake called the Sleeping Giant, and it is a giant sleep.
Yes.
Right? There's a road down here. I drive down it, and there's this big piece just cut out of the hillside. I mean, once you understand that the Grand Canyon was actually excavated by a giant machine, the mountain, the Devil's Mountain in America and Cape Town, they're giant tree stumps. Once you see that, you can't unsee it, and they're everywhere. They're all over the world, and this is what drives me nuts, because I'm like, the Giant's Causeway here in Ireland, right? If you've never been, it's extraordinary. Have you ever been, Catherine?
Yes, I have, and we've got the Devil's Punch Bowl near where I am as well, and which is just a great big footprint. So, you know, and all in plain sight. Look at what they call it, but I think it's really fascinating, because we talked a few months ago about Don't Look Up, the film. Don't Look Up. When you change your perspective of the way you look at things, everything changes. And we've been so drummed into us just to look at it from one perspective, and you just look at it from a different angle, a different view, and then suddenly you see something completely different.
When I first studied, because one of my channel subscribers wanted me to look into the Nephilim and the giants, and at first I was like, I don't really want to do this. But then when I started getting into it, I was like, holy shit. Like another thing that they have giants that are still in stasis, which from what that means to me is they're like under anesthesia, but they're still alive. And one of the things that I read was that this dark group was going to actually wake them up and have them like bop out of their graves. I mean, literally there are Indian burial mounds like an hour north of me. If they were to do that and a 25-foot freaking giant were to start running down I-75, Atlanta's gone. You know, and then I was looking into is it Gilgamesh? Was that the giant from the Middle East? The Iranian war? They had found his grave and he was in stasis, and there's all these emails from Hillary, we'll just say, sending troops to like remove Gilgamesh.
And then there's a big one in the Afghan caves, and there's videos of the soldiers fighting that guy. And there's the big giant red-haired ones in Russia that are in not stasis, but something like that.
Well, look at Sleeping Beauty. They did it to her, all in plain sight. But no, in all seriousness, you know, it's so easy, isn't it? We know that they've been doing it. You have to be careful how I say this. We know sometimes when a baby's born and they think it's been born dead and it hasn't been, and things like this. There's so many bits of the jigsaw puzzle put in together. But coming back to where we started from, I mean, it's like it's starting. If we're having these conversations, there's going to be so many other people across the globe having conversations. Yeah. So are we, you know, is the veil really getting to the stage now where it's so thin it's just about to lift? How are you feeling about it?
I think so. I think I know I have orbs around me all the time in my videos now. People are commenting it. I'm seeing it when I'm editing. I know Catherine is. I know Mark, you probably are. I know like everybody's. And I said this on one of my videos, if you guys are seeing orbs around us all the time while we're filming, then guess what? They're probably around you too. We're just on camera. Because when I'm filming, I don't see it. It's when I'm editing that I see it. They're probably around you too. And the one thing I know from like the off-worlders, the Pleiadians that I've been working with, they love us so much. Like it is an unconditional, and they're funny. They're funny, and they're big too, you know, and they have so much love for humans. And I know Taylor keeps saying that they keep wanting to thank us for those of us that are in this battle, because we volunteer. It's kind of like with the Hunger Games, I volunteer as tribute, like, you know, that we volunteered to do this. And we understood, I guess that memory I've had, but understanding that I would forget everything to take this life and to do this mission. And it was through just mere faith and miracles on their own that we would wake up enough to be able to start this ball rolling. I know the Law of One talks about the wanderers having to come back because the earth is destined to ascend to fourth density positive, but it needed people to come back, or into whatever you call us when we're not in our people humaning body, to come back to help push it forward, to not be taken down by the resistance of the negative polarity. So I mean, I just don't, this is what I think about too, like people who haven't awoken yet to this reality, they don't even know that the illness going around is not what it's cracked up to be. So how are they even going to handle the fact that our earth isn't what we think it is? Our history isn't what we think it is. There are freaking giants everywhere. There are fairies everywhere. They're I did a whole thing on leprechauns as well. And it's not folklore, guys. Like, it's just not. Like,
I've seen them. I've seen leprechauns and fairies, and that's without the magic. I mean, everyone thinks this is water. It's obviously gin, but it is funny. But I think a lot of people don't care either. I mean, I think a lot of people, they don't really care about a lot of these things. I mean, they might care if a giant comes and picks them up and eats them.
That's the thing that's always amazed me, because I've always cared about this stuff since I was a kid, and I couldn't understand why nobody else gave a shit. And like I'll go out. I went out and filmed a load of elementals and ships not far from here, and it was like 2 days out of my life. It cost money to do. It was and I'm doing it just because I want to show people. But even the cameraman, while we were there, who was looking at them, couldn't see them.
No.
I mean, he could see them, but he just couldn't compute what they were. And I was like, "Don't you think this is amazing?" He was like, "Well, I'm not completely convinced." I went, "They're right there." What do you mean you're not convinced?
But that happens in all aspects of our lives, don't you think, Mark? I mean, it's like people that have thought you can't talk to animals, or people that don't believe in ghosts, whatever. We've all got something that we can see, and particularly the children. We come back to it the whole time, but how many children have their imaginary friends? And it happens all the time, and yet adults can't see them.
I mean, everywhere is haunted down here in the South. I went to a private school in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, was in this old plantation house right outside of Atlanta. And Sherman, when he came through to burn down Atlanta, he actually stationed himself at that house. And when he stationed himself at that house, he actually killed the family that lived there. And there was like a 12, 13, 14-year-old daughter that they hung from the balcony after they RAP'd her, of course. And I remember as a kid, we would see her all the time hanging. And I have a friend who's very logical, very, very grounded, one of my best friends from childhood. And 3rd grade was upstairs. And she has, even to this day, at 39 years old, she still has this 30 years, she's had the same memory. She left something upstairs in her cubby. So her mom pulled up, she went upstairs, got her book or whatever, was coming back down the stairs. And she says to this day, 2 hands pushed her and she tumbled down the stairs. And still to this day, at 39 years old, she's like, "No, I was pushed. I remember feeling that sensation of the hands pushing me." And down here in the South, you have that as well. Our shawl is haunted. We have a ghost in our shawl. I talk to him every day. But yet people still can't. And even in the South, that people believe in ghosts, they still have a hard time like believing in extraterrestrials, or the fact that like it's not just us out here, that there could be history could be manipulated, or there could be crystal grids under the ground, or even in the churches, even in the Bible that we have, they talk about the Nephilim and the giants. Yeah. But yet you're not going to believe that that's actually a giant's grave.
Because it's all very convenient with the Bible. They just say, it's 1 minute it's literal, the next minute it's figurative, but 28,000 year reigns of kings in the Bible, and the 800 books are missing, however many, 770, I can't remember. But you just reminded me, when I was about 5 years old, I was mowing a lawn for a woman in a very posh house, and it was middle of the day, and out of the window there was a woman there, a young woman with very, very long blonde hair, just combing her hair, and I can feel it now. It was, when you get, that ghost feeling you get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had that feeling, and I was frozen to the spot. And she didn't belong in the house. She didn't exist, and I had to call somebody and said, "There's a girl upstairs," and they was like, "Don't be ridiculous," because the only other kids there were like 2 and 3 years old. So yeah, they all come back, and there was like there's just tons of them, dead horses in the road that weren't there 5 minutes later. I've got hundreds of them. We should write them down. But then,
I mean, Gettysburg. Look at all. If people watching, you can Google "ghost at Gettysburg." People have just taken pictures of like soldiers walking.
Yeah, well, I got mentored about 10 years ago by a guy whose job was to go. He for 30 years he'd been going around removing all these souls that were trapped in battlefields, and he told me about when he had to clear the field at the Battle of Hastings from 1066, and he said that there were thousands of soldiers there that just wandering around, and he had to clear them, and that was part of his job. And through the last 10, 20 years, I've met loads of people. One person I met whose job was to activate all these crystal skulls all over the world, and that was part of their job. And I was meeting these people when I wasn't anywhere near as awake as I am now, and I'd be like, who are these people? But they taught me loads of stuff, and they equipped me for now, because they taught me lessons I didn't even realize that I was being taught.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny too is I've realized too, because I can handle a ghost. Like I said, I grew up in the South. Like I can handle a ghost, but I've realized now that there are people in my life that can astro travel, and they're coming to me, and that's when I get a little freaked out, because you're astro traveling. You're not a dead person. You actually have decided to come to visit. And the other night I was asleep and I saw myself flying, and I ended up in somebody else's house. And I woke up the next morning and I talked to our friend Taylor, and I was like, I think I went somewhere last night. And she's like, oh yeah, that's astro traveling. And I was like, I never really want to do that. But but that just shows you that the spirit, the essence of a human isn't just the physical body. And if we have access, if we learn to have access to that essence again, then our life looks completely different. And nobody has power over us at that point,
Oh, it's exciting, isn't it? It really is exciting. So, I don't know quite where we go from there.
Well, I was going to tell you a quick story. Last year, in the last 2 years, sorry, almost every day, especially during the first lockdown, I found myself just going to bed at like ridiculous times, like 11 a.m. I'd just go to bed, and I'd be gone for 2 hours, or at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever. And then I thought, oh, is this just me getting old? And then I was like, but every time I did it, I woke up and I had bruises on me. I was stiff, sore. And then I had these really strong images of me with a big sword, and it all sounds like fantasy, but I think it was real. I think I was doing work, and it if I relax, meditate, that feels more real than this life does.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Being in the quantum feels more real than being at the grocery store buying bread right now.
Yeah, same here.
And
I'm sharing that for anybody watching this is having the similar sort of thing, because
exactly
you're not alone.
No.
I love this, because these sort of conversations are becoming quite norm in this community, because I've been saying right from when we first started talking, Brice, about how I'd wake up in the morning and I know I haven't got out of my bed at night, and it hasn't said, and I've got like a swollen black and blue ankle where I've twisted my ankle, and it's like, what then? But it's quite normal in my family to this, but they sort of laugh. But I wish I'd learned how to. I'm a bit exhausted now, could do with the rest. You were saying there's ways to do it, but I think there's so many people that experience this, and we're starting to look at everything that, that's just a dream, that's just this. Well, we don't know how much is a dream and how much isn't.
Did I show y'all this? I don't know if I showed all this. So this was about a year ago. This was like, I did it. I put it in black and white so you can see it. That's a bruise on like the side of my torso. Wow. I woke up with that. Mm-hmm. Like that was a big freaking bruise. Like I would have remembered if I had done something like that in my life. Mm-hmm. And I woke up with that, and I know, and put it in black and white just so you can see if there was anything written in my side. But it was, I know it was an attack, or I was doing something like, I know that's what that was from. And I kind of laughed at it, because this is welcome to my life. This has been my life since I was a kid. And I know, because so many people comment on my channel too, like, if you are having these experiences, as Mark said, you're not alone and you're not crazy.
No, you're not. Well, maybe some of them are, but generally not.
Yes.
Okay, we're all crazy.
What's that quote from Alice in Wonderland? All the good people are.
Oh, go on.
Wait. I'm a little bit. I'm paraphrasing. I'm a little bit crazy. That's okay. All the good people are. All the fun are. All the interesting people are, or something. Yeah. There's like a quote about that.
I was going to say I like to believe 3 impossible things before breakfast.
I like that.
I mean, Alice in Wonderland. There's another rabbit hole, literally, with the white rabbit.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just something. Yeah, you look into that. They just filmed, I think, a year or 2 ago, just before the lockdowns, up at our local estate, the latest version of that, actually. And that was quite fascinating to see that in process. So, but yeah, weird things. And all these people that think have got these amazing imaginations. So obviously not. But I quite like the thought, what you said, Brice, that there's off-worlders up there that love us as much as I love my guinea pigs.
Yeah.
I'm quite happy to be their guinea pig. I mean, that's quite a nice, consoling thought, isn't it?
Yeah, it was when I got in contact with my off-worlders through desperation because of a tracker that was in my neck and I couldn't eat, and some black magic juju had been done. And I was told that you just need to tell them that you're ready, because it's free will, guys. Like if they're taking you on ships without your permission, then that's not the good guys. And so I sat on the edge of my bed that night and I was like, I need you to take me up tonight, but I don't want to remember because I'll crap my pants. And I woke up the next morning and my neck was really, really sore. And I am not a heavy sleeper. Like I sleepwalk, I have night terrors. Like I wake up, but I know when I go up now, because I don't remember anything. And I'm like dead to the world. And I'll wake up, my neck was really sore. So I know they had done something, and then I could eat the next day. I started to be able to eat again. And then the next night I want to go up again. I said, well, let me remember just a little bit, just a little bit. And I actually remember being held and like rocked, just being rocked and held by a big Palladian man. But it was almost like I was a child, and like my head was like by his like heart center, and I was just being rocked back and forth. But yeah, I'm not. Yeah. So for people that have asked me, how do I make contact? You just have to like start talking to them. They're hearing you, but they don't want to scare you. The good ones don't want to scare you either. Like they don't want to terrify you to the point where you're never going to want to do it again. You're never going to want to like talk to them again or be open to seeing them again. So yeah. And now the more I do it, the more I can like hear them, the more I feel them around me, the more, that telepathy started to get stronger with other people. So,
Exciting. So anything else you want to talk about, Mark?
Well, as Brice was talking about that, I had these flashbacks not long ago of greys, me being operated on by greys on my brain. And I remember once I woke up and there were 4 of them at the end of my bed around my feet, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing here? And then they disappeared. And I think if anybody, there's a really good film that everybody should go and watch called Jupiter Ascending. Have you guys seen that?
No, and write it down.
So it was made by the Wachowski brothers, stroke sisters, whatever they are now, and they made that film. It was a flop, but if you go and watch that film, it's very interesting. They've got greys in there, they've got Draco in there, they've got harvesting the human race for blood. They've got the whole thing in there, all about genes and everything else. And it's about this waitress. Sorry, it's not a waitress. She's a cleaner called Jupiter, who happens to have the same genes as a queen that has passed on. And it's very, very interesting. And kings that live for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. It's got everything in. Go and watch it.
Definitely.
Well, I'm out of time now, but it's
yeah, we've got to go. Oh my God, we'll have to do a part 3.
Yeah, we can't keep calling it whatever you called it, because it's not that anymore.
I was thinking, if you're okay with this, Mark, for my channel, for anybody that, because I know a lot of my people have had paranormal experiences, if you have any questions for Mark, can they ask in the comment section and we can present them at the next?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm not the oracle or anything. I'm just a bloke. I'm just
no, but you have experience.
Weird shit in my life.
Yeah. Well, they have, I think it helps, it helps to hear when people have the same experiences. So, yeah. So anybody watching can ask those questions and I will share them with Mark the next time we record.
Yeah. But what I found is that most people have had experiences like this. They just put them to one side and get told when they're a kid to forget about that. But I think it's time to get all these things out now, because that's where we're going.
Yep.
We are. We're already on the way. Right. Thank you so much, everyone. That was brilliant. And we will be back again to be continued, I think, this drama.
Great to see you again.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.